The champagne flute pops against crystal, the sound sharp as a breaking bone. I watch a ghost at my own execution as Marcus slides the ring, my grandmother's ring, onto Chloe's finger. Her manicured hand, the one I used to hold when we whispered secrets under the covers, trembles with fainted delight. A perfect tear traces a path through her perfect makeup. They think this is their victory. They think this is my end. The cold marble floor beneath my bare feet is the only thing that feels real. It anchors me to this moment, a scene I've lived before. In my first life, this was the instant my world shattered. The shock had been a physical blow stealing the air from my lungs, leaving me a hollowed-out shell of a girl who couldn't understand how her fiancé and her best friend could be standing in the center of their engagement party, celebrating a betrayal so profound it felt like a death. It was a death. Mine. But this time is different. My heart doesn't shatter. It doesn't even crack. It beats a slow, steady, and cold rhythm. Each pulse a promise of retribution. Ice water, not blood, floods my veins. I am not the weeping fool crumpled in a forgotten corner. I am the architect of their downfall. And they have just laid the first stone. To Marcus and Chloe, someone shouts, and a chorus of congratulations echoes through the grand ballroom of my family's estate. My family's home, which was supposed to become our home. The irony is a bitter pill I've already swallowed. Across the room, Marcus catches my eye. He offers a small, pitying smile. The kind you give a stray dog or a business rival you've just bankrupted. He thinks I'm heartbroken. He thinks I'm weak. He's counting on it. His confidence is a radiant, sickening thing. He's so sure of his triumph, so pleased with his own cleverness. He has the girl. He has the ring. And he believes he's about to have my company. I let my gaze linger, letting a flicker of the devastation he expects show in my eyes. It's a necessary lie. Let him believe I'm broken. Let him underestimate me. It will make his ruin that much sweeter. My mind is a steel trap running calculations he can't even begin to fathom. The scent of lilies, my favorite, the ones he had trucked in for my benefit, is cloying and thick. A funeral wreath for the girl I used to be. Every detail of this room is a weapon they tried to use against me. But now it's all part of my arsenal. I know things they don't. I know that in exactly 18 hours, the final merger papers between Sterling Industries, my family's legacy, and Prescott Global, his father's empire, will be ready for signing. I know that Marcus, propped up by his mother's influence and his own charm, has orchestrated a deal that heavily favors his family, built on the assumption that I, the grieving, jolted fiancé, would be too emotionally distraught to read the fine print, that I would sign anything to make the pain go away, to salvage some shred of our family's alliance. He was right the first time. I signed and I lost everything. My company, my inheritance, my dignity. 6 months after that, I lost my life. An accidental slip from a balcony after too much wine and too many sleeping pills. No one questioned it. The tragic Aries unable to cope. It was a neat and tidy end to their story. But this is not their story anymore. This is mine. And in this version, the tragic Aries gets a second chance. The clock is ticking. Not towards my doom, but towards his 18 hours. It's more than enough time. This time, I won't be the fool who loses everything. This time, I'm the one holding all the cards, and I am going to burn their world to the ground. I slip away from the spectacle. My movement silent and unseen. They are the center of the universe right now. No one is paying attention to the ghost in the ivory dress. My bare feet make no sound on the polished hallway floors as I find a quiet study, the one my father used to work in. The scent of old books and leather is a comfort, a reminder of a strength I forgot I possessed. I don't waste time on tears or sentiment. Action is the only antidote to the poison of the past. I pull out my phone, my fingers steady as I tap the screen. There's a number in my head, one I furiously deleted in my first life, scrubbing it from my phone and my memory with a rage born of misplaced loyalty to Marcus. But in the quiet, empty months after my death, and that strange gray in between, the number had come back to me, a lifeline I hadn't known I had. I memorized it. I held on to it. I knew somehow that I would need it again. It rings twice. A deep, calm voice answers. A voice that sounds like late-night business deals and expensive whiskey. Adrian Sophia. The surprise in his voice is subtle, but I hear it. Adrian Thorne is a man who is surprised by nothing. He's the only true rival to Prescott Global in the city. A self-made billionaire with a reputation for being as ruthless as he is brilliant. He's also the man who has watched me from afar for years. The man who made me a very different kind of proposal 6 months ago, a real one. A marriage of equals, a joining of forces. I'd turned him down politely but firmly. I was in love with Marcus, I'd told him. What a blind, stupid fool I had been. It's me, I say, my voice low and even. I'm calling about your proposal. There's a pause on the other end of the line. I can picture him in his penthouse, the city lights spread out beneath him like a carpet of diamonds. He's a king in his castle, and I'm about to invite him to conquer a new territory. My proposal, he repeats. It's not a question. It's a confirmation, a quiet test. The one you made to me at the museum benefit. I clarify, though I know he knows the business proposal and the personal one. My answer is yes. I accept. Another silence, longer this time. I hear the faint clink of ice against glass. He's thinking, analyzing. Adrian doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't get played. Are you certain this time, Sophia? He asks, his tone unreadable. You were quite clear in your refusal. I was a fool, I say. And the confession is surprisingly easy. There is no room for pride now, only strategy. I've never been more certain of anything in my life or my death. The last part slips out. A whisper of the truth I can never tell anyone. He doesn't comment on it, though. I know a man like Adrian misses nothing. Where are you? He asks. I'm at my engagement party, I say, letting the statement hang in the air. My fiancé Marcus just proposed to my best friend with my grandmother's ring. The line goes dead silent. I've given him the motive. I've given him the context. Now he understands the urgency, the shift. This isn't a fickle change of heart. This is war. My driver will be at your service entrance in 10 minutes, Adrian says, his voice now devoid of any warmth, replaced by the chilling efficiency I've heard so much about. He'll bring you to my office. We have work to do. I know, I say. Thank you, Adrian. Don't thank me yet, Sophia, he says, and his voice holds a new note, one of grim satisfaction. We haven't won yet. He hangs up. I slip the phone back into the tiny useless purse that hangs from my wrist. A wave of dizziness washes over me. The adrenaline of the past hour finally hitting. I lean against my father's desk, taking a deep breath. It's done. The first move has been made. I think of the merger Marcus orchestrated. The documents are a masterpiece of deception. Buried deep within the legalese is a clause he added at the last minute. Clause that requires my personal signature as the primary heir to Sterling Industries. He thought it was his master stroke, the final chain that would bind me to his will. He assumed that even after his betrayal, I'd be forced to sign to protect the family to prevent a public and messy collapse of the deal his mother, Victoria, had championed for so long. He saw it as his ultimate leverage. He has no idea that clause has just become his undoing. Is the very thing that gives me the power to destroy him. Because I am no longer the naive Aries who will sign anything her fiancé puts in front of her. I am the woman who just promised herself and her company to his greatest enemy. I glance at my reflection in the dark glass of the window. The girl staring back is pale, her eyes too wide, but there's a fire in them that wasn't there before. A cold, burning fire. I smooth down my dress, take a cleansing breath, and step back out into the hallway. The party swirls on, a kaleidoscope of oblivious joy and glittering falsehoods. I see Marcus across the room, laughing with Chloe, her head thrown back in a display of what she probably thinks is pure ecstasy. He holds her hand up, showing off the ring, my ring, to a circle of fawning admirers. Their confidence is an insult. Their happiness is a declaration of war. I let them have their moment. I let them drink their champagne and bask in the glow of their stolen victory. I'm already 3 moves ahead. My king is on the board now, and their whole world is about to be put in check. The 10-minute timer Adrian gave me is counting down in my head. My new life is about to begin. Adrienne's penthouse office is exactly as I had imagined it, a testament to power and precision. It sits at the apex of the city, a glass-walled fortress in the sky. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrap around the space. And from this vantage point, the Prescott Global Building, Marcus Gilded Cage, looks small and insignificant. A target. Adrian stands by the window. When I enter, a silhouette against the glittering skyline. He turns and his eyes, a startlingly clear gray, assess me in an instant. He's taller than Marcus with a leaner, harder build. There are no soft edges to Adrian Thorne. His dark hair is perfectly styled, his suit is impeccably tailored, and his expression is one of controlled intensity. "Sophia," he says, his voice the same calm baritone from the phone. He gestures to one of the plush leather chairs opposite his massive mahogany desk. "Drink water," I say, my voice still a little shaky from the escape. The 10-minute drive here felt like an eternity. Every second a risk of being discovered. He pours the water himself from a crystal decanter. His movements economical and precise. He doesn't ask if I'm okay. He doesn't offer condolences. A man like Adrian knows that pity is useless. He offers power instead. "You said you accept." He begins getting straight to the point as he hands me the glass. "Both proposals. Let's start with the business. The merger with Prescott is in 18 hours. 17 now." I correct him, taking a sip of the cold water. It feels like life itself. The contract has a personal signatory clause for me. Marcus believes he has me trapped. He thinks I'll sign to avoid a public scandal. "And you won't," Adrian states. "I'm going to do better than that," I say, a sliver of a smile touching my lips for the first time all night. "I'm going to propose a new merger between Sterling and Thorne Industries." Adrian's expression doesn't change, but I see a flicker of something in his eyes. Respect, perhaps. He leans back against his desk, crossing his arms. The posture is casual, but the energy coming off him is anything but. An interesting counter move, but Victoria Prescott has been working on this deal for a year. The board is behind her. The board is behind the idea of securing Sterling's future. They believe Prescott Global is the only way. They're wrong. Marcus is hiding a mountain of debt. He's desperate. Sterling isn't his prize. It's his lifeboat. He needs my company's assets to cover his own reckless investments. This is the first secret. The one I learned too late in my first life. The one that explained his sudden rush to push the merger through, his coldness, his willingness to cast me aside for a more compliant partner. Adrian raises an eyebrow. "You can prove this." "I can," I say simply. "I have the memories, the names, the foreign accounts. I know exactly where to look." "Good," he says. "Then we have leverage. We call an emergency board meeting for the morning. We expose Marcus. We present our own deal." He pauses, which brings us to the second proposal, the personal one. My heart gives a small nervous flutter. This part is harder. The business is strategy, but this is something else. A merger of our companies will be seen as hostile, I say, my voice carefully neutral. A marriage between us solidifies the alliance. It makes it unbreakable. It sends a message that this isn't just a takeover. It's a union. That was my original logic, he agrees, his gaze unwavering. But my reasons were not entirely about business, Sophia. And I suspect yours aren't now either. I meet his eyes. My reasons are about survival, Adrian, and revenge. Revenge is a powerful motivator, he muses. But it burns hot and fast. What happens when it's over? Then I will be the co-CEO of the most powerful corporation in the city, and I will be married to a man who, unlike my former fiancé, understands the meaning of loyalty. A ghost of a smile plays on his lips. Fair enough. The sound of the private elevator dinging cuts through the quiet tension of the room. Adrienne's assistant, a woman with a severe haircut and an expression of fierce competence, appears at the door. Mr. Thorne, you have an unscheduled visitor, Marcus Prescott. He's demanding to see Miss Sterling. My blood runs cold. How did he find me so fast? Adrian seems unfazed. Let him in, Sarah. He turns to me, his voice a low murmur. Let's see how he plays a hand he doesn't know he's already lost. The doors slide open and Marcus storms in. His face, usually a mask of charming composure, is flushed with a rage I've never seen before. His eyes, wild and furious, fix on me. He completely ignores Adrian. Sophia, what the hell are you doing here? He demands, his voice echoing in the vast office. I've been looking everywhere for you. You disappeared from your own engagement party. It wasn't my engagement party, Marcus, I say calmly, my voice a stark contrast to his fury. You're here with him. He finally seems to register Adrian, who is watching the scene with a detached, almost clinical interest. The contempt in Marcus's voice is thick. You can't be serious about this merger, Sophia, he says, taking a step closer. His rage is morphing into a desperate, pleading tone. It's the voice he used when he wanted something. I used to find it irresistible. Now it just sounds pathetic. More serious than you were about ours apparently. I counter my words like chips of ice. This isn't a game. He shouts, his control snapping. You're destroying everything we built. Everything our families built. I stand up, my newfound height in the heels Adrienne's driver had waiting for me, making me feel his equal. We built nothing, Marcus. You built lies. He looks taken aback, genuinely stunned by my coldness. He expected tears. He expected hysterics. He has no idea how to handle this version of me. He takes another step, his hands outstretched as if to grab me. Before he can, Adrian moves. He doesn't say a word. He simply shifts his position, placing himself slightly between me and Marcus. It's a subtle, almost imperceptible movement, but it's a clear line drawn in the sand. A wall of quiet, unyielding power. Marcus stops dead. He looks from Adrienne's impassive face to mine. The rage in his eyes is now mixed with something else, confusion, and for the first time, a flicker of fear. The air is thick with unspoken threats. The cloying sweetness of yesterday's roses, the scent of Marcus' betrayal is finally fading from my memory. In its place is the clean, sharp scent of Adrienne's cologne, cedar and ambition. It smells like the future. A future Marcus has no place in. He thought he was in control of the game, but he doesn't even know the rules have changed. He is a pawn in a war he just realized has already begun. The next morning, the Sterling Industries boardroom feels like a courtroom. The long polished table reflects the grim faces of the board members, a collection of men and women who have known me since I was a child. They are my father's friends, his colleagues, his legacy. And for the past year, they have been slowly, surely won over by Marcus' charm and Victoria Prescott's relentless ambition. They see me as a necessary but sentimental piece of the puzzle, the sterling heir who needs protecting. I walk in with Adrian by my side. A wave of murmurs ripples through the room. They expected me to be at home, nursing a broken heart. They did not expect me here. Flanked by the one man who could truly challenge the Prescott empire. Victoria Prescott sits at the head of the table, a position she has adopted by sheer force of will. She is an elegant, iron-willed woman with perfectly coiffed silver hair and eyes that miss nothing. She looks at Adrian with undisguised animosity, then at me with a look of condescending pity. "Sophia, my dear," she says, her voice smooth as silk, but laced with steel. While this is all very dramatic, I'm not sure it's the appropriate time or place. We're here to finalize the merger. A merger that will secure your family's legacy. Marcus is beside her, looking pale and strained. His eyes dart between me and Adrian, a muscle twitching in his jaw. He tried to get to me all night, a barrage of frantic calls and texts that I ignored. He knows something is wrong, but he doesn't yet comprehend the scale of his miscalculation. That's precisely why I'm here, Victoria, I say, my voice ringing with a confidence that surprises even me. I take my rightful place at the table opposite her. Adrian sits beside me, a silent, imposing presence. I've reviewed the merger documents in depth. I let that sink in. I've always been the creative one, the one who handled design and branding, leaving the financials to my father and then to Marcus. My sudden interest in contractual details is the first red flag. And Victoria prompts, her painted smile tightening. And I have some concerns, I say, nodding to Adrian. He slides a sleek tablet onto the table, and with a tap, a series of documents and spreadsheets illuminates the large screen at the end of the room. Specifically about Prescott Global's financial health. A gasp goes through the room. Marcus shoots to his feet. This is outrageous. Our financials are impeccable. Sophia, what is he making you do? He isn't making me do anything, Marcus. I say, my eyes locking on his. I'm doing this because you lied to me and to this entire board. You're not acquiring sterling to expand your empire. You're acquiring it to save yourself. I stand and walk to the screen, my movements calm and deliberate. I point to a series of offshore accounts and shell corporations. For the past 2 years, Marcus has been making a series of high-risk unauthorized investments using Prescott Global funds. Investments that have failed spectacularly. He is currently carrying over $200 million in secret debt to a consortium of foreign investors. Investors who are getting impatient. The boardroom erupts. The members are on their feet shouting questions. Their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief. Victoria's face has turned ashen. She stares at her son whose carefully constructed mask of indignation is beginning to crack, revealing the desperate cornered animal beneath. These are fabrications. Marcus sputters, his voice cracking. Forged documents. Thorne is trying to sabotage our deal. Are they, Marcus? I ask softly, my voice cutting through the noise. I tap another file on the screen. Because here are the signed wire transfers, and here is the correspondence from your creditors setting a repayment deadline of next month. A deadline you cannot possibly meet without liquidating Sterling's assets. The silence that follows is absolute. Every eye is on Marcus, who looks like he's been physically struck. He stumbles back into his chair, his face slick with sweat. He has no defense. He knows the evidence is real. I look at the faces of the board members. I see dawning comprehension, anger, and betrayal. They were nearly duped. My father's company was nearly sacrificed to cover the tracks of this reckless, charming boy. In this moment, as I stand before them, not as a victim, but as their savior, a flash of the future hits me. It's not a memory, but a certainty. In 6 months, I'll be standing in the same boardroom. The name on the wall will ride Thorne Sterling Industries. I'll be standing beside Adrian, not just as his wife, but as his equal, the co-CEO of a new dynasty we built from the ashes of this one. The thought doesn't feel like revenge. It feels like destiny. It feels right. Victoria, says Mr. Abernathy, one of my father's oldest friends and a staunch traditionalist on the board, his voice trembling with fury. Did you know about this? Victoria stares at her son, her expression hardening into something cold and unforgiving. The protective mother is gone, replaced by the ruthless CEO. No, she says, her voice clipped. I did not. Marcus' mask doesn't just slip, it shatters into a million pieces. The charm, the confidence, the easy smile, it all evaporates, leaving behind a desperate, terrified man who has just lost everything. He looks at me, his eyes wide, with a horrifying new understanding. He's not just looking at the woman he betrayed. He's looking at the woman who just destroyed him. And I am only just getting started. The meeting devolves into chaos, but it's a controlled chaos I am orchestrating. I let the board argue, debate, and rage. I let them fully absorb the depth of Marcus' deception. He thought he was the predator, and I was the prey. He had no idea I was the hunter. And this boardroom was my trap. The furor in the boardroom eventually subsides, replaced by a tense, simmering silence. The board members look exhausted, betrayed, and for the first time they look at me with respect. I am no longer just Sophia Sterling, the grieving daughter. I am the one who saw the truth. Marcus sits slumped in his chair, a broken man. Victoria is on her phone, her voice a low, furious hiss as she speaks to her lawyers. She's in damage control mode, but the damage is catastrophic. The Prescott name, once a symbol of unshakable power, has been irrevocably tarnished. I walk back to my seat beside Adrian. He gives me a small, almost imperceptible nod. We are in complete control. From my briefcase, I pull out another document. It's a copy of the prenuptial agreement Marcus' lawyers had sent over to mine just last week. It was supposed to be a formality. I slide it across the table toward Marcus. His eyes, dull and defeated, flicker down to the paper. I believe this is yours, I say, my voice clear and steady. It's a cruel document designed to protect his assets while laying claim to mine. It details in cold legal language how in the event of a divorce, I would be left with virtually nothing. Not a penny of Prescott money, no claim to the business, and only a token alimony that would be an insult to the eyes of Sterling Industries. It was designed to gut me, to ensure that once he had control of my company through the merger, I would be disposable. It's a standard agreement, he mutters, not meeting my eyes. Protects both families. Does it? I ask, picking up the document. I don't raise my voice. I don't need to. The quiet contempt in my tone is enough. I look at the signature page. It's funny you were so meticulous about protecting your own assets, but you got a little sloppy when it came to securing mine. I rip the document in half. The sound is shockingly loud in the silent room. I rip it again and again until the pieces are nothing more than confetti. I let the shredded paper fall from my hands and scatter across the polished table in front of him, a monument to his failed plans. You won't be needing that anymore, I say. His head snaps up, a spark of his old arrogance returning. You think you've won, Sophia? You've exposed some debt. You've embarrassed me. But you can't prove any real crime. Can't I? I lean forward, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that only he and those closest can hear. Let's talk about the original merger framework. The one my father signed before he passed away. The one you used as the basis for this entire deal. His face goes rigid. He knows what's coming. You forged my father's signature on the initial term sheet. I say, each word a hammer blow. You needed his preliminary approval to even bring this to the board, but he was having second thoughts. He was starting to see you for what you were, so you forged it. That's impossible to prove. He hisses, his eyes darting around the room to see who is listening. It's my word against a dead man's. Not when I have the handwriting analysis from a forensic expert, I say, my voice still quiet, still deadly. I tap my phone and an email pings in the inbox of every board member. The expert report, complete with magnified images of the signature, damning in its detail, and the security footage from the lobby of the forger's office building. You were very careful, Marcus, but not careful enough. He looks like I've stabbed him. The blood drains from his face, leaving a sickly greenish pallor. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. He is utterly, completely ruined. But there is one final secret. The one that ties the personal to the professional. The one that will sever the last thread of sympathy anyone in this room might have for him. You weren't working alone, were you? I continue relentless. You had help. Someone on the inside. Someone who had access to my father's private documents. Someone who knew the inner workings of Sterling Industries. Someone I trusted. I let my gaze drift from Marcus' horrified face to the door of the boardroom. As if I can see through it all the way back to the party last night to the woman wearing my grandmother's ring. The final secret spills from my lips, not with a shout, but with a quiet, sorrowful finality. Chloe, it was Chloe, wasn't it? She's been feeding you information about my family's business for 2 years. Every weakness, every private conversation, every negotiation strategy, she handed my father's legacy to you on a silver platter. If the debt was a body blow and the forgery was a stab wound, this is the final fatal shot. It connects everything. It explains not just his business strategy, but his choice of replacement. It wasn't just a random affair. It was a conspiracy. A long, calculated betrayal by the 2 people I loved most in the world. Marcus finally breaks. A choked guttural sound escapes his throat. He doesn't deny it. He can't. The truth is written all over his face. I glance at the clock on the wall. 2 p.m. The courthouse closes at 5. I announce to the stunned room. I look directly at Adrian. That gives us 3 hours to file the fraud charges. The timer has been reset. The game has escalated. We're no longer just talking about a failed merger. We're talking about criminal prosecution. We're talking about prison. Marcus Prescott, the golden boy of the city, is about to become a convicted felon. And his co-conspirator, my dearest friend Chloe, is about to go down with him. The annual Children's Literacy Gala is the crown jewel of the city's philanthropic scene. It's a night of performative generosity where billionaires write checks and society wives compete for the most dazzling jewels. Tonight, it is my stage, my coronation and his execution, all in one glittering public spectacle. I arrive with Adrian at my side. We are a vision of power. He in a perfectly tailored tuxedo that makes him look less like a businessman and more like a dangerous handsome spy. And I in a gown of deep crimson, the color of blood and victory. It's a stark contrast to the virginal ivory I wore at my engagement party less than 24 hours ago. The message is clear. The innocent girl is gone. A queen has taken her place. The moment we enter, a hush falls over the ballroom. Heads turn. Whispers follow us like the train of my gown. The news from the sterling boardroom has ripped through the city's elite with the speed of a wildfire. Everyone knows something has happened. They just don't know the full story. I intend to give it to them. We find Marcus and Victoria holding court near the bar. They are putting on a brave face, but the strain is visible. Marcus looks haggard, his eyes red-rimmed. Victoria's smile is a brittle painted-on thing. Chloe is nowhere to be seen. It seems she was not deemed suitable for public display under the circumstances. Sophia, Victoria says, her voice tight as she approaches us. I need to speak with you privately. Everything I have to say, Victoria, I'm happy to say in public, I reply, my voice carrying just enough for those nearby to hear. Before she can respond, the evening's host taps the microphone on stage. It's time for the keynote speeches. And as the primary sponsor, the first speaker is meant to be the CEO of Prescott Global, or in his absence, the heir, Marcus. But as the host calls his name, I put a hand on Adrienne's arm and begin walking toward the stage. A ripple of confusion and excitement goes through the crowd. There's been a change in the program, I say to the bewildered host, my voice low but firm. I take the microphone from his hand. I turn to face the sea of faces, the hundreds of powerful people who represent the world I was born into. The spotlight is warm on my skin. I find Marcus in the crowd, his face a mask of disbelief and horror. Good evening, I begin, my voice smooth and confident, amplified throughout the grand ballroom. For years, Sterling Industries has been a proud supporter of this wonderful cause. My father believed that literacy was the foundation of all success. He also believed in the power of truth and integrity. I let that hang in the air for a beat. It is in that spirit of truth that I have an announcement to make tonight. A personal one. I pause and the room is so quiet you could hear a diamond drop. Many of you attended a party last night that was mistakenly billed as my engagement celebration. I am here to correct the record. I turn and smile at Adrian, who has moved to the foot of the stage, watching me with an expression of intense pride. I am overjoyed to announce my engagement to Mr. Adrian Thorne. The room erupts in gasps. It's a scandal, a drama, a public spectacle more delicious than any gossip column could have invented. I see the flash of cameras from the press section. This will be on every front page tomorrow. I walk off the stage, my purpose served, and move directly toward Marcus, who stands frozen, his face ashen. The crowd parts for me as if I am royalty. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, Sophia, he hisses, his voice a venomous whisper as I reach him. His carefully curated public persona is gone, replaced by raw, ugly desperation. I already made that mistake once, I reply, my voice just as quiet, just as cold. And his name was Marcus. Adrian doesn't love you. He loves your company. He snarls, trying to find a weak spot in my armor. I almost laugh. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. And you loved my money, not me. At least Adrian is honest about his ambitions. We are partners, you and I. We were a lie. This isn't over, he says, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. Oh, Marcus, I say, and for the first time, I feel a sliver of something that might be pity. It's a weak, useless emotion, and I squash it immediately. It's been over since the moment you betrayed me. I turn to Victoria, who has been watching this exchange with a look of growing horror. From my small, elegant clutch, I pull out a slim, leather-bound folder. It contains copies of everything. The offshore accounts, the forged signature analysis, the sworn affidavit from the board, even a transcript of Chloe's confession, which Adrienne's security team had efficiently extracted from her earlier that afternoon in exchange for a slightly less damning legal fate. Victoria, I say, my voice softening just a fraction. This part is not for my benefit, but for hers. She is a formidable woman, and though she is my enemy, she deserved to know the full truth of her son's weakness. I believe you'll want to see this. I slide the evidence folder across the small table between us. Her perfectly manicured hand trembles as she reaches for it. She opens it, and as her eyes scan the first page, the last bit of color drains from her face. She looks at her son, not with anger anymore, but with a profound and devastating disappointment. In that moment, I know I have not just defeated Marcus. I have severed him from his greatest source of power, his mother's unwavering support. While they are absorbed in their private hell, Adrienne's phone buzzes. He answers, listens for a moment, and then hangs up. He leans in close to me, his breath warm against my ear. The board has voted unanimously. Marcus has been removed from his position, effective immediately. They've also formally rejected the Prescott merger and have accepted our preliminary offer. It's done. The empire has crumbled. I look at Marcus, who is now being confronted by his own mother. Her face a mask of cold fury as she holds the folder in her hand. He is alone, stripped of his title, his reputation, and his future. Adrian takes my hand, his fingers lacing through mine. It feels strong. It feels right. Now, shall we discuss our overseas expansion? He murmurs, already looking to the future. I smile, a real genuine smile. I thought you'd never ask. We turn and walk away, leaving the ruins of the Prescott dynasty behind us without a backward glance. As we move toward the exit, a pair of discreet security guards hired by the venue, but clearly acting on a quiet word from Adrian approach Marcus. They speak to him in low tones, their presence a firm, unyielding barrier between him and the rest of the gala's attendees. He is being escorted out, a pariah. He catches my eye one last time from across the room, his face a maelstrom of hatred and disbelief. I give him a small final nod, a silent acknowledgement of his end. Some people get second chances, I whisper to myself, the words a secret between me and the universe that had granted me this impossible opportunity. You won't be one of them. 6 months later, the glass wall of my office overlooks the city, but the view is different now. The Prescott Global building is still there, but a new name is being prepared for its facade. Thorns Sterling. Adrienne's office is connected to mine through a private door. We are rarely apart. The ring on my finger is not my grandmother's. That ring, tainted by betrayal, was quietly sold. The proceeds donated to the Literacy Foundation. The ring I wear now is an exquisite square-cut diamond. Brilliant and modern and clear as Adrienne's ambition. It catches the light as I sign the final page of the document in front of me. It is the contract finalizing our acquisition of Prescott Global's remaining domestic assets. We picked the bones clean. Victoria fought, of course, she is a fighter. But stripped of her son's fraudulent groundwork and facing a mountain of legal trouble, she was forced to sell. She has retired, retreating to a quiet life away from the city and the scandal that bears her family name. Marcus took a plea deal. The forgery and fraud charges were too substantial to fight. He avoided a long prison sentence, but he is a convicted felon barred from holding any board position for life. His name is poison in the world he once ruled. The last I heard, he was living in a small rented apartment, a ghost of the man he used to be. And Chloe, I saw her last week. I was walking to a lunch meeting and there she was behind the counter of a downtown coffee shop. She wore a stained apron and a name tag. Her hair was messy, her nails were chipped, and her eyes were empty. All of her dreams of marrying into the Prescott dynasty, of becoming the queen of the city's social scene, had evaporated, leaving behind this bitter, lukewarm reality. She saw me. Our eyes met for a brief searing second across the crowded cafe. I saw a flicker of the old hatred, but mostly I saw a vast, hollow emptiness. She looked away first, turning to take an order, her voice a dull monotone. The friendship she destroyed, the loyalty she betrayed, it had all bought her a life of minimum wage and the smell of burnt coffee. It was a fitting end. I built this empire on the ashes of their betrayal. I took their lies, their greed, and their cruelty, and I forged them into a weapon and then a throne. Adrian stands in the doorway of my office watching me. He smiles. That rare, genuine smile that he saves only for me. Done, he asks. Done, I confirm, closing the folder. I stand and walk to him, the crimson dress from the gala, a distant memory, replaced by a sharp, elegant business suit. It's all ours now. It always was, he says, pulling me close. You just had to claim it. He's right. This power, this strength, this life, it was inside me all along. The betrayal didn't create it. It just burned away everything else, leaving only the indestructible core of who I was meant to be. I am not the girl who was destroyed by them. I am the woman who was reborn from their fire. And I am not done burning. I am just getting started. This time I chose the right man. This time I chose myself. And together we are invincible.